Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're breaking down the production magic behind a literal massive pop anthem that absolutely took over the globe, Miley Cyrus's Flowers. You know, we're gonna look way past the gossip and all that celebrity lore, and instead we're gonna put this track under a sonic microscope. We really want to understand exactly why it sounds so incredibly good. I mean, just look at the sheer scale of this track. When Flowers dropped back in January 2023, it became the fastest song in history to cross 100 million plays on Spotify globally. 100 million! It debuted at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, stayed there for weeks, and eventually earned Cyrus her first ever Grammy Awards, including Record of the Year. But how exactly did it do this? Well, the secret actually lies in a pretty fascinating shift in the music industry right now. As one producer put it, pop music is changing in 2023. And the crazy irony of this massive modern hit is that its core secret, it's actually 1970s inspired, vintage production. Producers Kid Harpoon and Tyler Johnson basically crafted a sound that feels exactly like a classic disco funk record from 50 years ago, but somehow it still hits with the punch and absolute clarity of modern pop. So here's our mixing console track list for The Explainer today. 1. The anatomy of a hit. 2. Building the disco groove. 3. The gated drum technique. 4. Orchestrating the strings. 5. Sweetening with ear candy. And 6. Production meets storytelling. Okay, let's jump straight into section 1. The anatomy of a hit. Blending the decades. So to make a modern song sound authentically vintage, Kid Harpoon and Tyler Johnson had to meticulously blend these eras together. They basically engineered a 70s atmosphere using modern tools, kind of bridging the gap between that soft rock nostalgia, think Fleetwood Mac, and today's super crisp dance pop. And you can really see this blend right here, specifically when we look at the drums. Now, modern pop drums usually rely on this massive, booming, synthesized low end, but Flowers, it uses 70s disco-style drums. They are totally dead, muted, and just incredibly tight. The kick drum is super short with this harsh attack, completely avoiding all that muddy, lingering low end you typically hear in modern radio hits. Moving on to section 2, building the disco groove, the rhythm foundation. Before Miley even sings a single word, this rhythm foundation absolutely has to anchor us, the listeners. And honestly, this groove is deceptively complex. The whole engine here is driven by a classic 4-on-the-floor disco kick paired with a highly syncopated bass line. It's a really cool mix of styles, actually. The producer mixes short staccato notes right alongside longer ones, which gives the bass this bouncy, almost skipping rhythm. And get this, it actually carries a bit of a country or Mexican twang, totally reminiscent of norteño music, but it's layered right over a funk groove. All of this walks through a very familiar A minor to D minor to G to C chord progression, which gives the track that absolutely irresistible strut. Now for section 3, the gated drum technique, tightening the beat. Let's get just a little bit technical here and talk about the actual secret behind that incredibly choppy, energetic feel in the drums. To achieve this level of tightness, they use a specific tool called sidechain compression. Simply put, this is a production technique where the volume or effect of one track is entirely controlled by a totally different track. The producers basically wanted the drums to cut off super sharply, leaving absolutely total silence between the hits. Let's move to this and see exactly how they build this step by step. First up, they create a completely silent trigger track that's just playing quarter notes. Second, they apply a noise gate to the drum group and literally link it to that silent trigger. What this means is the drums literally only exist when the trigger allows them to. The exact second the trigger stops, bam, the gate slams shut, instantly cutting off the hi-hats and snares. It creates this incredibly tight, rhythmic gating effect that just forces your head to bop, And they use silence in another, frankly, genius way, the slingshot effect. Usually, the chorus of a massive pop song drops with a huge kick drum right on beat 1. But in Flowers, the first beat of the chorus is completely silent. It's just an empty downbeat. It literally acts like pulling back a giant slingshot. By withholding that first beat, they create this momentary vacuum. So when the groove finally does hit on beat 2, it unleashes this massive, explosive release of energy. Alright, section 4, orchestrating the strings, a vintage atmosphere. So once that super tight rhythm section is firmly locked in, they contrast the whole thing with these sweeping string arrangements to really nail that vintage atmosphere. Now what's really interesting about this is the producer's exact toolkit for crafting those authentic 70s strings. They actually used virtual instruments preamps like Session Strings Pro, but, and here's the trick, they ran them through a Neve-style preamp with a heavy pad to add some real analog distortion. Then they threw on a tremolator right before the hook to create this lush, vibrating tension, and basically bathe the whole thing in an EMT 140 plate reverb. For context, that's one of the most famous lush reverbs from that entire era.
But the absolutely crucial point here is how they used modern OTT compression on these vintage sounds. OTT is this incredibly aggressive multi-band compressor. By slapping it onto the strings, the producers aren't just making them louder, they are actively bringing out all these hidden micro-frequencies. The OTT literally amplifies the tiny high-frequency scrapes of the bow hair moving across the strings. It's wild. It puts you right inside the live recording room, making these completely virtual instruments feel incredibly organic and, well, human.
Up next, Section 5, Sweetening with Ear Candy, the hidden details. You know, a truly great mix is really all about those microscopic details just humming away in the background, stuff producers lovingly call ear candy. Take a look at some of these hidden elements. Right underneath the snare, there are multiple hand claps that are actually placed slightly off time. Why? To give it a live feel, because let's face it, real humans almost never clap perfectly on a computer grid. Then there's this oboe-like synth acting as a little nano hook. It basically functions like a backup singer, responding directly to Miley's vocal lines. And they also sprinkled in these reverse vibrato transitions, along with incredibly quiet, chopped-up shaker and cabasa loops, just to subconsciously keep that groove always moving forward.
And finally, Section 6, Production meets Storytelling, the narrative payoff. Now, all of these highly technical choices, the super dry drums, the lush strings we talked about, that aggressive gating, honestly, they'd mean absolutely nothing if they didn't serve the core emotion of the song. Which brings us to a pretty compelling question. Why exactly does a vintage 1970s disco funk track resonate so incredibly deeply with a modern pop audience right now in the 2020s?
Well, the answer really lies in its lyrical subversion. The song is widely recognized as a direct, thematic response to Bruno Mars's heartbreaking ballad, When I Was Your Man. Where Mars sang with all this heavy regret, I should have bought you flowers, Cyrus completely flips the script, confidently declaring, I can buy myself flowers. She takes a narrative of loss and totally transforms it into this powerful, confident anthem of absolute self-reliance.
And the production just perfectly mirrors that emotional shift. That steady, driving, four-on-the-floor beat, it isn't just a catchy rhythm. It's actually the physical embodiment of stepping right into your own autonomy. The assertive funk bass and those confident, soaring strings we broke down earlier, they take that lyrical theme of independent self-love and translate it into a tangible feeling. One that literally forces you to stand up and move. The music is every bit as unapologetic as the lyrics.
So, what does this all mean? We'll leave you with this final thought. We've just seen how sidechaining gates the drums into pure silence, and how an entirely empty downbeat on a chorus acts like a slingshot for our emotions. It really proves that what you don't hear is just as important as what you do. Think about it. If a missing kick drum can actually make a chorus hit harder, what other intentional silences in your favorite songs are secretly speaking volumes? Pay close attention to the space between the notes the next time you put your headphones on. Thanks so much for joining us for this explainer, and definitely keep your ears open.